you.
It's good to be here as well.
Oh, I think I have to say that again because we weren't live. That wasn't great. Here we go. So good morning to Brazil and good afternoon to Spain and to South Africa. It's wonderful to be here with you. Go
It's
ahead.
nice to be here with you for me as well.
It's good to be here, at least just to see how sunny it looks over where Elena is, at least.
Yeah. Well, wonderful.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? This is a global transmission. Hayek will be live in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Enjoy the show.
Well, welcome again. It's an honor to be here with you. And well, Elena, thank you for joining us. I know you're traveling. Thank you, Pierre, for being here with us to, talk about the COIL project that we are doing together with Universidad CEU San Pablo in Spain, and with Pierre, who is our professor at Hayek Global College. So tell us a little about your home universities, about your experience working internationally, how you feel that this COIL project can impact yourselves personally and professionally.
So you ask, or do you want me to tell all these things together?
No, you could just start by introducing yourself, and then we take it from there.
Okay, I'll do this. Well, I'm a lecturer in communication and information theories at San Pablo CEU University. This is a private university in Spain. We are, I think, between the two most, we are one of the two most important private universities in Spain. And I would say we are among the 5 better considered universities, thinking in general, privates and publics. We are a Catholic university whose charisma is proposing Catholic values through education and through the formation of better professionals to society, focused on common good. And well, beside teaching communication theories, I've been a journalist I studied journalism. I worked as a journalist for several years. And then I moved into the academia. And well, I am very happy to have this opportunity to collaborate with Hayek.
So my name is Pierre Miller, as you can probably see. I'm the professor at Hayek, teaching Introduction to Philosophy, this semester that's going to start now. I'm from South Africa, where at the moment it's quite cold. I also teach here at another private university. I've been working with Hayek for a while now, helping with course development and so on. And in terms of speaking more of Hayek itself, I think that Hannah is in a better position than I am. But what drew me to Hayek and what I enjoy about working at Hayek is that it is a university that is committed to, I wouldn't say reclaiming, but to continuing perhaps the tradition of what you would generally call the classical thoughts, or some people would say classical liberal thoughts, which I think is very valuable. And I generally teach philosophy, political philosophy, those kinds of things. And in this course, we will be focusing on a general introduction to philosophy, broadly speaking. And then in the COIL, which we will be getting to now, we will be applying that in specific context, which I'm looking forward to a lot.
Well, it's wonderful to have you with us here at the live. Well, just complimenting, because Pierre said, well, maybe I'm in a better position to talk about Hayek, but you summed it up very well. It's in our DNA that we want to, promote and develop international connections, as we also simultaneous to getting our students and our professors to take on different perspectives, and thereby creating more awareness of that there maybe is not just one truth to it all, but there might be several truths when you look into different cultures and different cultural contexts. Well, the next question that I had for you, and that I'm excited to know more about, is how you have been working internationally and how maybe that has impacted yourselves.
Who do you want to answer first, Hannah? Do you want me to answer, or do you prefer Pierre?
You can go first.
Okay.
Feel free.
Well, I have the experience, my most relevant experience for working in international atmospheres is cooperating program that our university has with another university in Sierra Leone. I have done other things, but I think this is the most relevant. I have participated in. This was very special for me because there I learned the richness, the different cultural perspectives, and different ways of focusing problems brings to teachers, to students, and to universities as corporations. And also I value this because of the importance of working together with other people for the common goal. I think this is the most important for me. I also have participated in other COILs, and well, this was a very interesting experience, but in COILs, I think the most interesting thing for me is seeing my students. I mean, when I did my first COIL, I have many doubts about my students' involvement in the activity, but I was really impressed seeing them absolutely committed, working with and collaborating with complete strangers, trying to achieve a common goal. So I think COILs are very interesting for this because they bring you into a global or into an international scenario, and it's a good way of training in activities that you are going to have to develop when you become a real professional.
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, so I don't know, my camera feed has frozen, but from my side everything looks fine. So hopefully it'll fix itself. But from my side, in terms of international experience, mostly the usual stuff. So that would be working with other academics internationally, as one does, going to conferences. I once organized an international conference here in South Africa as well, and I've attended several in Europe and in the US. And I think one thing that I find extremely valuable about that kind of international experience, I mean, generally, no one's going to argue that it's a bad thing, but I feel that from a philosophical point of view, one of the big things that we try to do in philosophy is try to identify presuppositions. And one of the interesting things about presuppositions is that there are things that you often presuppose. So you don't know they are things that are being presupposed, right? And I feel that, or I found that working internationally really does allow you to recognize a bunch of presuppositions, because you just have a certain way of looking at things and doing things. And and if you're and people in your culture and country and so on have a tendency to share a lot of those same things. But then the moment that you work internationally, a bunch of stuff gets opened up. And it's really nice because then it allows you to reevaluate your way of doing things and evaluating, is this really the best way to look at it? Or can I adapt this? I find that to be extremely valuable from a philosophical point of view. And in terms of the COIL, I myself, I've not done a COIL before. This will be my first one. I'm looking forward to it a lot. So I think the camera is working again. So I'm looking forward to it a lot. It's going to be a new experience, but I'm also optimistic. I think one of the things about the COIL project is that it's exciting. It's because it's interesting usually to meet people from different cultures and so on. I think especially in our context, I always enjoy talking with the Brazilians about the difference between Brazil and South Africa and so on. But we're both in the global South, and I found that the global South, global North divide is also really interesting. So I think it's going to be an interesting connection, especially now, because in a sense, the Brazilian culture is very much related, obviously, to Spain. There's going to be a lot of similarities, but there's also going to be very interesting differences, which I think will allow for the opening up of a bunch of new perspectives. And I'm looking forward to being a part of that.
It's interesting what you both are talking about, and I feel what Eleanor was saying about cultural awareness, or I think is also what Pierre was adding to, that sometimes when we are within our own cultural context, we are not so aware of culture, but then we go out of our cultural context, and suddenly we are aware of what makes myself to be, in my case, German, or in your case, Spanish or South African. What does it make me feel similar or different? And how can I maybe open my mind to different perspectives? Because my perspective, as I see the world within my cultural context, might not be the same as this is seen in another part of the world, which is then almost bringing us to what you are going to try to do at some point in your COIL project, right? Would you like to tell us a little about what you are proposing for the COIL project?
Okay, I'll tell. I think I would say that we are doing something very interesting from this cultural but global point of view you were talking about, Hannah. Because we are going to analyze the discourse on media. And media at this moment are cultural industries and are very global. But there we are going to analyze advertising that it's at the same time they are very local messages. So what we are going to do is to analyze advertising campaigns in our countries, Spain and Brazil, or in the local countries of the participants. And we're going to identify there something that I think it's something that seems me to be very widespread, I would say. The ideology of progress, of the necessity of constant change, that we sometimes, or we generally, I would say, we consider to be positive and necessary. And we are going to understand the importance of assessing this ideology from the perspective that provide the philosophy that I think that helps our minds to open. So that's what I will tell. I think we need Pierre now as the specialist in philosophy. I don't know if to say the philosopher, but at least the specialist in thinking and in philosophy, to improve my description. But I think what we are going to do is to analyze global ideologies from the media in local campaigns, and trying to understand from the point of view of philosophy how media are building up ideologies.
Yes, so I think Elena described it very well. I could just add maybe, you know, from a philosophical point of view, like when I was talking about the different presuppositions that we discover often when we encounter different cultures, and Anna, you said it's almost like you don't recognize your culture until you're outside of it almost, and in a sense, so you could call those cultural presuppositions, but from a philosophical perspective, we can talk about many different kinds of presuppositions, whether cultural or whether they are about the world as we know it. So your idea, understanding of nature, your understanding of humanity, these kinds of things. All of these different presuppositions have a way of kind of functioning together, and they kind of create the framework within which we understand the world around us, how we look at things, to make sense of things that we see. And this is what we would almost call like a worldview, which will be an important theme in this COIL and how we will be addressing it. And so we will be doing a bit of analysis in terms of worldview analysis, looking at the worldviews of the people, of different people, and comparing them, and also looking at the worldviews almost represented in these marketing campaigns or in this media. And in recognizing that, we will then be able to critically evaluate that in a way that you just can't do if you're not aware of it in the first place. And so I think that the key to this COIL will almost be unlocking, that dimension of. This is going to sound very dramatic, but unlocking that dimension of reality, so that you're not just swept along by the current, but that you can recognize, oh, this is where this current is going. Do I want to go along? Do I want to take a different route? And I think that's going to be the heart and purpose of the COIL.
Which I personally find is intriguing, as like to what I until now understand as my reality. Is it real? As like the basic philosophical question. And somehow what you were saying reminded me of one of the Matrix films. When you get in and see what and science fiction at some point, but anyway.
Yeah, we're not going to go full Matrix for this COIL, but we are going to dive a little bit deeper.
But I think your example of thinking about Matrix is very pertinent, because when the movie was launched, there was a very interesting contact in there with Plato and his cavern and so on. But at this moment is much more interesting, because with all the bubble filters and echo chambers from media, and especially from social nets, from internet, we are real problems to recognize, maybe not material reality, but ideological, political reality. So I think your analysis was very interesting, Pierre and Hannah.
Thank you, Elena, for adding to that. And what you would like, seeing that we will propose students or incentive them to question maybe the worldview that they have until this moment that we are understanding is being shaped by media reality or by global advertising. What you think would be the greatest value in COIL generally for students, but particular in that project, in the project that you're proposing?
Well, I have 2 points to talk about. Academically, this is, I think this will surprise you, but I think that academically the COIL will help my students to understand that their subjects, especially communication theory, but all the subjects in general, have a practical application, that they are connected to reality, because I think sometimes students at university, they consider their subjects or their courses very theoretical. But I think the most interesting thing in the COIL, Pierre and you and me are sharing, is that we're going to relate these courses with things that surround them, that are connected to their interests, the things that happen in the world. And well, I don't know what happened with the introduction to philosophy, but in Spain, student of communication theories thinks that this is something far away from their lives and disconnected to reality. And my main objective academically is that they connect reality, what is happening in media, what is happening in the world, what they think, or what they do. And personally, for them, I think it's also an opportunity to try out what's like working in a multicultural environment. So I think has 2 levels: the personal skills, and also their approach to their subjects, to their courses.
Yeah, I can strongly concur with what Elena is saying. I think for the Hayek students, the introduction to philosophy, we try to make it immediately apparent why it's important, why it's not just some kind of far away, removed theory. But I think that this focus on media and advertising is incredibly self-evident why it's important. And it's one of those things where once you start to look at advertisements or media in general, in that way, you can never, once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. You can never look at media in the same way ever again if you've started thinking about, but what is the philosophical assumptions behind this? What is the agenda? What because you can get a philosophical or worldview agenda as well, and like I said, I think that makes you a much more informed person in the world generally, and so that's immediate. And like I said, I think you don't have to do a lot to convince a student why this is a good thing, why this is valuable. So I think that the value for the Hayek students will be apparent immediately. And then in more general terms, for the COIL, I think what Elena also said about being able to work in a multicultural context is very important. And I think especially given Hayek's purpose and Hayek's mission statement, it's even more important, because Hayek is almost designed from the ground up to facilitate these kinds of things, to allow our students to work internationally, and in different cultural contexts. And so that it just, it couldn't be otherwise.
I agree. I mean, sometimes because we do a lot of COIL projects, each of our courses has a COIL project embedded. Students feel like, oh, there's a lot of COIL going on, but they grow so much, as they get connected with different with students from different countries, with different cultures, as they understand that cultures, that people from different cultures work differently, communicate differently, see the world in different ways, So if we think about skills or knowledges or experience that you would expect that students get from this COIL project? Is there anything that you would like to add? Because you've already talked about cultural awareness, about communication, but is there anything else that you would think that or expect that they would develop during this particular COIL project?
So if I should go first, then no, I think we've spoken a lot. I mean, I've spoken a lot about the specific skills that we want to develop in the students in this COIL. I think I can summarize it basically in saying that it'll be a very good development of critical skills, which is, especially in the world today, when you look at media literacy, which is a big problem, or people are starting to realize more and more the problems that arise from low media literacy. I think that this is a critical skill. So I don't want to just call it media literacy. I prefer the more classic, just critical skills, critical evaluation. But I think that's the core of it.
I completely agree with Pierre. I was thinking about talking about this critical perspective, these critical skills, and also the multicultural experience you talked just 2 minutes ago, Hannah. So I think the two main skills from these COILs will be the critical thinking, and I think we have talked about this critical thinking in comparing media and ideology to discover, but I think there's a third level where philosophy is very useful, is to say, okay, I can discover what media are telling and what's the meaning of what they are telling, but what do I really want? What do I really think? So I think there are 3-level analyzing skills, but I think the most important thing is this critical environment that philosophy and communication theories bring together, because I didn't tell that before, but communication theories is a subject about analyzing media power too. It's a subject focused on understanding what media are doing with societies and with people, and why are they doing this. So I would say that the main point is the critical skills, the analytic skills.
Absolutely. And I think when you said there is a third level about how I am thinking, I would maybe add to it, like when I understand there are different worldviews and I compare my worldview with the worldview or perspective of others, maybe also what are the consequences of me choosing a particular worldview. I don't know if you will go there, but I think there are consequences of worldviews that we are taking on, being aware of them. I was going to ask you still about the COIL in terms of not actually the COIL, but curiosities of your own experiences or of your own country. Is there anything you would like to share about Spain or about South Africa, just to warm up the community and making them feel excited about getting in touch with different cultures?
Well, I would say that Spaniards, we are very creative and very curious minds. So I think together with your students are all around the world. So I think that working together is going to be very amazing. I'm sure it will be very. I'm sure we will get very interesting results.
So I'm not exactly sure, Hannah, what it is that you, because South Africa is a really interesting country. I can tell you things about South Africa, but I suspect maybe are you referring more to interesting things about the Brazilian context, or interesting
No,
things about?
it's a like it's a wrap up question almost, like to get the community warmed up, like for example, I myself, well, right now I'm having also the Brazilian citizenship, that I came 12 years ago from Germany to Brazil, so there are a lot of curiosities in that journey, but also it could be just a curiosity about your own cultural context, nothing really necessarily connected to the COIL itself.
Okay, yeah. I can say this is one interesting intercultural experience that I had, and this is a weird intercultural one where it's a bunch of cultures interacting in a strange way. Is I went to Michigan once for a conference, and I was very confused whenever they, at the university where I was, whenever they tried to say it's in this building or that building, because the whole university and most of the town in Michigan was Dutch, and so they have Dutch names and family names and everything for all of the buildings. But then, and I speak Afrikaans, which is very close to Dutch. So when I read that name, I think of the Dutch pronunciation, and so it would be something would be like De Vries or something like that. And when I was there, they kept saying these names, and I would hear the name, and I would read the the map or whatever, and I couldn't quite make out where I was supposed to go. But then it was, after a while, I realized, no, it's because they're using the American pronunciation of the Dutch names. And so if it was a completely strange country, then I realized the interesting thing was, if it was a completely strange country, I would expect it to be strange. And then I would listen in a different way, to how they were pronouncing the names and reading it. But because when I was reading these, they looked familiar to me, I assumed I knew how they would need to be pronounced. And because of that, I kind of got lost when they then pronounced it in a way that I wasn't expecting. So I think this is one of the things where the most dangerous assumptions are the ones that you don't know that you're making. And I think intercultural experiences are great for opening that up.
Absolutely. And I'm just thinking that these kind of things that you were just talking about with the language could actually happen with Spanish and Portuguese, even with the, with words that look similar, but that have different meanings.
Yeah, if I can mention one funny story, this is like Afrikaans and Dutch, but it's I would be very interested to know if there's something similar between Brazilian Portuguese and Spanish. But in Afrikaans, if you want to say excuse me, you say "verskoon my asseblief." And in the Netherlands, they also have the same words. In Dutch, they would also say "verskoon my asseblief." But in the Netherlands, it means "please clean me." And so it's a very classic mistake for South Africans to go to the Netherlands, and when you arrive at the airport or something, and someone is in your way, or you're in someone else's way, and you just say, "verskoon my asseblief," and they give you the strangest look. As you're the stranger asking them to please clean me.
Very funny. And
So I would be very interested to know if there's something similar in between the Brazilians and the Spaniards.
is there anything you want to add, Elena? No? Everything all
No,
right?
it's
Well,
okay. If the only thing I will add is that I'm really desiring to launch the COIL and to start to work together in November, if I'm not wrong. Mm-hmm.
absolutely. And well, thank you so much again for this live, for sharing with us your previous experiences, for sharing also what will be the COIL project about, and for the enriching experience that you shared about cultural experience that you already have. I'm really excited about the COIL project that we are going to launch. and I wish you all a wonderful, well, for you afternoon, for everyone else here, well, everyone else now in Brazil is also afternoon already. Well, thank you so much and have a great day. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.